robust civil rights and anti-discrimination laws in our nation and in our states, including the Civil Rights Act. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility build on those laws and take them to the next level, putting them into practice in tangible ways so we can all benefit from the rich diversity of our society, so we can ensure accessibility for all, so we can create inclusive environments, knock down barriers, and promote representation, so we can combat discrimination. Claiming that diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs are a form of discrimination is entirely illogical. It makes no sense and has no substance. It's a tight soundbite Trump can use to fuel his campaign to dismantle America's education system and roll back progress across the nation. With this order, the Department of Education is unapologetically abandoning its mission to ensure equal access to education. With this order, the president has yet again broken the law, violated the Constitution, sidelined Congress, and trampled over the separation of powers. With this order, Trump and McMahon are jeopardizing the educations and futures of millions of children across this country. I won't allow it. My colleagues won't allow it, which is why we filed this lawsuit today, our 15th lawsuit against the president in 13 weeks. As Attorney General and as a dad of 3, I'm proud to stand by our state and nation's laws that protect all people and ensure all people are welcomed. Before I wrap it up, I want to reiterate that none of this happens without the incredible members of our teams who work behind the scenes, often without recognition. Today, I want to recognize the public servants at California DOJ who made this lawsuit possible: Jimmy Richardson, Annabelle Wilmot, Andrew Edelstein, Laura Fair, Sunny Downer, Cheryl Feiner, Michael Newman, Christina Bull-Arndt. With that, please allow me to pass the Zoom mic to my colleague from New York, Attorney General James.
Thank you, Attorney General Rob Bonta. I also want to recognize, of course, the Attorney General from Illinois, Kwame Raoul, and from Minnesota, Attorney General Keith Ellison. I want to thank them for their partnership on this important fight on behalf of students and schools who depend upon them. Every student in this country, regardless of who they are or what they look like, they deserve to learn in an open and welcoming environment, free from discrimination. And that is not just what my fellow attorneys general and I believe, that's the law. And that is why we are suing the Trump administration today to uphold our nation's civil rights laws and protect our schools and the students who rely on them. This federal government is illegally targeting diversity, administration, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in our schools. And President Trump's Department of Education's plans to withhold billions of dollars in essential federal funds from our school unless they certify that they do not engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs is shameful. These funds make it possible for most vulnerable students to access a quality education in a supportive learning environment so that every child has the opportunity to thrive. In New York, our schools receive $3 billion in federal education funding. And these critical resources help low-income students succeed, provide students with disabilities with the resources that they need, and support many of our major school systems. It's also important to note that they specifically support the Buffalo, Rochester school districts, which are the largest in our state, and they receive nearly a fifth of their funding from the federal government. This administration's new policy seeking to ban practices that advance diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just wrong, it is illegal, and it will harm our students and our school. The Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, she can't even explain what these so-called illegal DEI policies are. When she was asked at her confirmation hearing for an example of what would be an illegal DEI program, she could not say. And when she was asked if a school teaching African American history would lose federal funding under the Trump administration's new policy, she said she did not know. This is unacceptable. Our civil rights laws are clear. Schools should protect students from discrimination and not enable it. And this president and his administration cannot erase or ignore them. We are filing this lawsuit today to protect our schools and our students from yet another one of President Trump's attacks. And we, again, will not be bullied or targeted just because our schools work hard to ensure that every student is accepted and welcome. Here in the great state of New York, we also support academic freedom. In fact, all freedoms. And we will not allow this administration to hurt our students by taking away essential resources they rely upon. Our diversity is what makes us great. And our diversity is what makes America great. And our freedom is what makes America even greater. I'm a proud product of New York Public Schools, and I will always step up to defend our students, our teachers, and our schools, and most importantly, our democracy and our freedom. We've gone to court to stop the Trump administration attacks on our schools before. This is not new to us, and we are prepared to do it again. At this point, I believe that I am introducing my colleague from Illinois, Attorney General Kwame Raoul.
Thank you, AG James, and I want to thank AG Bonta, AG Ellison, AG Campbell, and all of our respective staff members who have collaborated on this effort and many other efforts leading up to this. Public schools in America depend on federal support to fulfill the promise of offering an equal free education to all. And this federal support ensures that students from low-income and rural families have access to high-quality educations. It provides special education services and accommodations to students with disabilities. And it helps to recruit and train highly skilled and dedicated teachers. It provides support to homeless students to help them break the cycle of poverty by completing their educations. It supports vocational and technical programs to put our students on a path to careers. This funding has been lawfully appropriated by Congress to support the education of students in K through 12 schools across the country. In Illinois, the loss of federal funding for education would mean a loss of nearly $1.4 billion, which would be catastrophic to our students, our schools, and our state. As a condition of receiving these funds, our State Board of Education has already certified that schools in Illinois comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. The Trump administration is now attempting to illegally stop the allocation of these congressionally mandated funds in order to push an agenda at the expense of some of the most vulnerable children in our states. The president does not have the authority to rewrite Congress's allocation of these funds any more than he can rewrite the clear directives of the Civil Rights Act. It is neither lawful or possible for our state boards of education to force our schools to comply with a vague mandate to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. This administration has consistently declined to define which diversity, equity, and inclusion practices it finds objectionable, or what the basis of its legal objections are. That's because it can't. There's no legal justification for its demands. In fact, several federal civil rights and funding statutes approved by Congress require that schools create an inclusive and equitable environment for their diverse student bodies. And these are not just legal requirements, they are moral imperatives that we take seriously here in Illinois. For example, the Every Student Succeeds Act requires, as a condition for receiving funds, a number of practices relating to diversity, equity, or inclusion. This act is the largest source of federal funding for our states. This administration brazen and illegal overreach has put the education of millions of students at risk. I proudly stand with my fellow attorneys general to defend this important funding and help ensure that all children have access to a quality public education. And with that, I'd like to pass the mic to my friend and colleague from Minnesota, Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Thank you, General Raoul, and thank you, General James and General Bonta. And I want to thank all of our colleagues who are teaming up to stand up for America's young people. You know, for such a long time, the federal government has been a key partner in Minnesota. The federal government has helped us invest roughly $530 million a year in Minnesota schools. These investments help fund programs that support all kids. Yes, poor kids, assistance for kids with special needs, you know, early education, early child, the little kids, transportation services for rural students, and much more than that. This work is essential because America is at its best when we invite everyone into our circle of compassion. We are at our best when we make sure everyone has the tools they need to be successful. And that's what the Trump administration does not seem to understand. Not only are these threats to withhold funding in violation of the law, they're in violation of what we value here in Minnesota and the ideals of this country and what we strive for every day, which is liberty and justice for all, which is what a good education, a diverse education will provide for every student. You know, I'll tell you what Trump and I clearly agree on, and that is that education is a pathway to opportunity. Trump and the Trump administration, I believe, know what education can mean to children of color, children from lower income families, rural students, women and girls students, new Americans, students with disabilities. They know that investing in our kids leads an open door for everyone. But here's the thing. If somebody believes that only they deserve an opportunity and you never do, they'll go out of their way to close every door available to your success. And so, in my view, that's why we have to fight off these attacks to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not because the programs don't work, it's because they do. But I want every student in America to know that your competence, your brilliance, and your potential, we do hold sacred and we will fight for. These attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion aren't happening to our kids because the programs don't bring our kids closer together, understand each other better, respect each other more. These programs, the diversity, equity, inclusion programs are under attack because they do just that. They build a more perfect union for our students to thrive in. So to the students in Minnesota and all across America, no matter how much this administration tries to tell you that diversity and equity and inclusion are not valued, are not important, we're telling you that they are, and we're proud of you, and we're standing with you, and we're filing this lawsuit for you. We're not going to sit back or allow this administration or anyone to attack our unity as Americans and to help Americans see each other as equal and as free and as deserving of an opportunity in life. So thank you all. Thank you to my staff. Thank you to all of the Attorney General staff who've teamed up to fight. We are here to stand for our kids. We believe in public education, in a diverse, equitable, and equal education. Thank you.
Thank you, Generals. Proud to stand with you. And with that, happy to open it up to any questions from the press.
If you have a question, you may do so by clicking on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. You will then be moved to the queue. Please wait to speak until I call on you and unmute your mic. Make sure you also state what publication you are from and if you are sending your question to a specific Attorney General. You may also use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to ask a question. Again, hit the raise hand icon to ask a question. The first question comes from Sophia. Sophia, you are now unmuted.
Hi. I'd like to know, in light of the orders from judges that you guys mentioned in the lawsuit, blocking various aspects of the president's anti-DEI directives, why was this lawsuit still necessary given those rulings yesterday? And how does this lawsuit interact with those other legal challenges that have already been filed?
Thanks for the question. Maybe I'll take a first crack at it and invite my colleagues to jump in to correct me or add on. I'll first say that we were pleased to see those decisions. We think those are the correct decisions, and they offer some broad protection against unlawful funding withdrawals by Trump and McMahon. So I want to say that at the outset. I'll also say that our lawsuit is different in two major respects. One, we challenge with our lawsuit today the April 3rd agency action that is a final agency action and a culmination of various presidential directive actions, which includes, but is not limited to, the February 14th Dear Colleague letter that was at issue in the other lawsuit. So our focus in this case is on a broader set of actions and a final agency action. We also, as states, have a separate, strong, and unique interest in ensuring that these billions of dollars in congressionally mandated education funds continue to flow to our state and our local education agencies. And we have additional legal claims for why these actions violate federal law and the Constitution. So I want to lift that up. We have different claims that we think are very strong claims and could be the winning claims. We have spending clause and separation of powers and appropriations clause claims. So sometimes you will see different plaintiffs bringing causes of action based on similar action by the federal government. There are often different angles, perspectives, claims being brought, and it's all for the good, in my view, that folks should bring their appropriate action with the standing that they have and the injury that they've suffered. And we've done that here as states, and I believe added additional claims and challenged different federal administration action.
Let me also add that Department of Education provides almost $13.8 billion to our respective states, and our litigation covers a number of states. So there's various jurisdictions that are covered under our litigation. In addition to that, it really addresses the onerous and illegal certification that requirements that is now being required by the Department of Education. And for those reasons, it was really critically important that as attorneys general, that we also file a complaint, again, given the unique situation that we find ourselves in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kaylin. Remember to say your publication. Kaylin, you are now unmuted.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. I'm with Chalkbeat. We cover K-12 education. And I was wondering if you could speak to whether or not you've heard anything from the Department of Education since the certification deadline passed yesterday, or if you're expecting to hear anything from them.
I don't believe California has, and the deadline just passed. I think it was midnight last night. Don't know. Don't necessarily expect to hear anything else. We've taken our position. We've made it clear. We've sued them. We've explained why. So don't have any expectations.
Right. I think this silence speaks for itself.
Yeah, we have not heard anything in Illinois as of yet. But I do want to make clear that part of the reason and the timing of our suit is there has been a prior indication of cutting off funding as a result of whether or not certifications came in as of yesterday, and I think AG Bonta spoke to that earlier